Action! Welcome back to Show and Tell. I'm Billie. Today I'm coming to you from my usual corner of the world, my 9th floor apartment in Manhattan. Brr, it's finally cold here. So it's been sweater weather for a while, but now it's really like sub-zero. So I'm very happy staying indoors and knitting, and I have more than my usual amount of knitting to share with you today. So in the past, I've shown you my Norwegian sweater and the matching hat from this book that I knit. I think I showed you the completed mitten. And so I don't get stuck on Mitten Island, I did decide to start knitting the mate before the end of the year. Now, you might recall me saying it's very traditional to have one mitten with the initials and the other mitten with the year. Let me show you in the book, 1 second. Well, there isn't a picture exactly of that, but here's the sock and a mitten. So I am debating about whether to put 2024 or 2025. So I'm going to impose upon you. Please weigh in the comments below. Today is December 14th. As you can see, I'm pretty early on in this mitten. I don't remember exactly how long this one took me to make, but when you think you're done, no, you still have the thumb gusset to do. So the second mitten may go a little faster for me because I'm a little more familiar with the pattern now, but I only have a couple of weeks before it's 2025. So what do you think? Should I be putting 2024 or 2025? You got to let me know soon, because I am at the row that's just the beginning of this section where I'm going to have to start placing in the year. So let me know, what do you think, 2024, or should I be safe and go with 2025? So that's my first work in progress. Of course, I have no FOs. I just finished 2 sweaters not too long ago. But I have other whips that I can show you. I just wanted to mention to you, this podcast is available with subtitles in virtually any language, and I'll insert a couple of short videos here that demonstrate exactly how you can do that through your settings in the lower right-hand corner. This old number's been hanging around for a while if you've been a longtime viewer of this podcast, and if you are, I want to say thank you. You will know that I knit the whole sweater in its entirety, stranded, and felt the fabric was way too stiff and too dense for me to be able to put it on and wear it. So I've been re-knitting. This is the back, using Intarsia, and I'm almost done with the front as well. Oh my goodness, it looks like a rush of rags. All these bobbins hanging and all the strands from the inside, but maybe you can see the V-neck taking form here. And I have about, I don't know, another couple of inches till I catch up to the back. I wanted to show you my progress on weaving in all these ends though. It took me 2 days to do this much of the back. There's still obviously some straggly ends, but you can see the motif. That's a big deal compared to how it was before I wove in anything. That's the flip side, a mess. But little by little, you do one at a time, and I have to watch a movie or some knitting podcast to get me through just sitting there mindlessly weaving in and cutting. Oh, I know, I wanted to show you all of the bits that I've clipped off. Check this out. Each of these little pieces is an end that I have woven in and clipped off. There are many of them. Such is life. If you have a better suggestion for doing Intarsia with 3 colors, please let me know. So I had to put this aside for a while. It was really getting to be like nauseating. And I've come back to this sweater multiple times. First it was, knitting the whole thing. Then it was ripping it out in sections and reconditioning the yarn, hanging it up. It still had a lot of kinks. Then it was a matter of beginning again, getting refamiliarized after a long hiatus with the pattern. There is no chart. It's knit 3 of this color, knit 4 of the next color, knit 2 of the third color. Some rows have all 3 colors. Most of the rows only have 2 colors. It's a pretty tedious pattern, not intuitive. Although now that I've done it twice over, I can look at it and I can see, oh, I'm going 1 stitch over and 1 stitch over that way, and that, this row is only going to be red and peach, and so on. What do you think of my color selection? It's a little unusual, right? Perhaps you saw the episode where I showed a pair of shoes that I bought, a vintage reproduction that had these kinds of colors, and I thought, what would I wear with these gorgeous shoes? I bought the shoes with the intention of knitting a sweater to match it because they're so unusual and they're so gorgeous. Maybe I can put a link up here so that you can go and see that episode where I show the shoes. Anyway, this yarn is John R. by Knit by Numbers. It's really, to me, this is how a sweater should feel. It's 100% merino. When I bought it, it was 100% merino. Now, I believe they use a blend of 2 yarns, so I don't know their current Knit by Numbers, how that actually feels. But I just think the sweater is going to be well worth all the trouble it has given me. So I am plodding along. The sleeves, I'm not going to pull them out to show you, but the sleeves have quite a bit of ribbing. I think it's a good 6 inches of ribbing. That I didn't have to rip out. So I already have a good part of both of the sleeves done. Then it'll be a matter of assembling the parts, and this V-neck will have a neck band in it, so I'll have to go around and pick up the stitches and knit, some kind of a band, which I plan to do in this mahogany color. I stopped for a moment to show you how I'm handling the decreases for the neckline. There's going to be a V-neck. I don't like where their V-neck begins, which is on the same row as the underarm. I wanted my V-neck to be a little bit deeper. So what I generally do is when I start the decreases, which happen right here where this white stitch marker is, I pin together the left and the right side to give it some support, because what I find is this section right here where my finger is peeking through, there tends to be a lot of stress on that, and I don't want those stitches to stretch out. So I keep pinning it to keep both sides very close together, but I'm certainly aware when I get to this gap that I have to switch yarn and work across the other half. So this is front and center on the sweater. This is what people will see the most. So it's very important to me that that area be tidy. And what I do is when I get to the very last stitch, I try and really snug it up. So I just wanted you to see that. That's a little tip. I forgot to say that because I want the decreases on this side to mirror the decreases on that side, I'm doing knit two together over here and slip, slip, knit through the back loop. And my selvage edge on each of these is a plain knit. So you can see these are stacking up very nicely. I'll have to go around to pick up stitches to knit the V-neck up inside of all of this, but I still want this to have a very clean edge. I bought a lot more of this color than the other two colors because I knew I wanted to do the ribbing at the waist and on the sleeves all in that color. So I'm hoping that I guessed the correct proportions and have enough yarn to complete it because, as I said, this yarn in this formulation isn't being made anymore. Another thing that I've been knitting on is, I forget the name of it, something easy. I'll put the name on the screen. It's also a vintage pattern. I'm going to show you, and actually I'd love your opinion on this too. I did a provisional cast on. Actually, the cast on was here. And I've been knitting my ribbing down from that cast on, but I had previously knit up. Now I'm doing it in stockinette. The yarn is a lace weight alpaca and silk blend. I'll put the name of it on the screen because I don't recall. I swatched with a few different size needles and I found like I really want this to be a very drapey kind of fabric. So I believe I'm on a size 8 needle and the ribbing I think is on a size 5. I'm just not sure about the pooling. I don't know how it's going to look actually when it's on, but this is the knit side and I wanted to show you the reverse. That's the purl side. Do you think it's a real violation of any kind of unwritten law if I go with the purl side? And what do you prefer? Do you like side B better than side A? There's going to be another color above this, like this area, the upper part. I'm going to have to wait until Vogue Knitting Live to bring this with me so I can try and match up a color. It's really too hard to do online because my computer screen renders most colors different from how they appear in person. And I want to get something that really harmonizes with this. This pattern is so far a no-brainer for me. So when I'm looking for something that's very compact that I can hop on the subway with, this has become my go-to thing because it's just straight stockinette and just straight ribbing. I don't need to refer to any instructions or anything. I can just sit there and knit, which is a beautiful thing. And I found myself sometimes coming home from the class I'm teaching, I come home on the bus so that I can get Wi-Fi reception, which I can't get underground in the subway unless I'm in the subway station at a stop. But when I ride the bus home, I can tune into my opera appreciation class and be listening on the bus while I'm also knitting, because that's how mindless that knitting is. I can really focus on something else while I'm doing it. It's a beautiful thing, knitting. There are not too many hobbies where you can like multitask. So I'm sort of enjoying having several different things on my needles, and really that I'm actively working on each of them. I haven't done that before. Usually I'm knitting one thing monogamously, and I might have a spare thing in the wings that's my traveling thing, like that chartreuse scarf that I haven't finished yet. We're going on 3 years, I think. So I've put that aside, but that's the kind of thing I can take with me. It's small. I need to have one of those if I'm going to be working on something really complicated. So that's my third whip. That's all I have in the basic areas. No FOs, 3 whips, no acquisitions. But I have a few other things that I wanted to talk to you about. As we wind down this year, I want to make sure to wish all of you happy holidays, but I also want to prepare you that in early January, after we turn the calendar to 2025, shortly thereafter, I will be kicking off my next knit along. Many of you have participated with me in the past. We meet over Zoom, so there's a lot of camaraderie and hand-holding, but mainly we're working together on the same vintage pattern that's written for just one size, and I guide the way on how to size it up or down to fit you. So the sweater I've chosen for the next knit along is called Knit It for Skiing? It's called Knit It for Skiing. I'll insert a picture here for you to see. To me, it reminds me of a sock monkey. So if you can see these colored yarns here, those are the colors that I've chosen. You might even see my little black and white marled swatch. That's the direction I'm going in. The picture is green, but of course you can do any colors that you want. So think about joining us. There will be a link in the show notes for how you go about registering, and I would look forward to meeting many of you. So please come and join us. It's fun. It's a really cute sweater, don't you think? I have a bunch of information about sock monkeys. I think I'll put some pictures here. I know I've shown you sock monkeys before, the patent, and then I have a link to a place where you can have like a whole resource guide to all things sock monkey. It might be interesting, especially if you like to knit toys. There's actually a sock monkey museum. I found their page on Instagram. So there's like a whole culture. Oh, and at the holiday market, you'll see at the end of the show when I insert some footage, there was a sock monkey booth. Everything in the booth. Sweatsuits and stuffed toys and all sorts of other things were like based on sock monkey. It's like all of a sudden the year of the sock monkey for me. I mean, I hadn't really paid attention to them before, but I certainly never saw a booth at this holiday market devoted to that. So I think it'll be fun. I hope you'll join me on that next adventure. And between now and then, I hope to get a lot more of my knitting done so I can free up some needles and try and be monogamous on that until it's done. I'm a member of the Big Apple Knitters Guild, which has a meeting every month. And most meetings they have a speaker. Today's speaker was someone named Mary Martin. I wasn't familiar with her before. And she gave us a tutorial on how to make a fabric that it's not brioche, but it is a reversible fabric. This is kind of like a very, very rudimentary level, but there's a vertical stripe of blue, a vertical stripe of lavender, a vertical stripe of blue just on this side. And the next step would be to create a different pattern on the other side. She has all different variations on this theme. She calls them fission knitting and fusion knitting. And now I forget which one this was. I think this is fission. So it's garter stitch with colors sitting on top of it. And it's a very basic slip stitch kind of motif. But she does more interesting stuff with it, cabling and so forth. I'll insert a picture here so you can see behind her some of the things that she has designed. Really incredible. Not vintage, understand, but just, you know, very different technique that I hadn't seen before. Another thing I want to talk about today is the Union Square Holiday Market. If you have visited New York at this time of year between Thanksgiving and Christmas, right in my neighborhood is a holiday market based on the markets that you find in Europe. So they build like a little village of stalls, and there's a different vendor in each stall. I think there must be over 100 vendors. I used to participate as a vendor in this fair many years ago when my son was young. I was selling educational toys, and there are days that it was really brutally cold out there. They did give us space heaters, which helped a lot, but I only did it for a few years because it was affecting my health. Anyway, it's a delightful thing to walk around and see all the different products that people are making. A lot of them are handmade. So I have some footage here to share with you. Today I'm going to take you on a tour of the Union Square Holiday Market. I've shown you Union Square before because it's very close to where I live. I've shown you the green market that takes place on Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and Saturday every week for probably the last 35, 40 years or so. Well, from the period before Thanksgiving just until Christmas Eve, we also have on the southern end of Union Square the holiday market. Union Square sits near the intersection of 14th Street and Broadway. It was established as a park in 1831, and historically it's been the epicenter for rallies and protests, including labor union rallies and Civil War rallies. All around the edge of the park are these brass plaques set into the sidewalk. This one shows how 14th Street was once known as Piano Row. There were many theaters around here also once upon a time. Sitting in the shadows of the ubiquitous Empire State Building, it boasts the oldest sculpture in New York City parks, that of the 1856 equestrian statue of George Washington. The statue is 13.5 feet high, plus the base is another 13 feet. The Union Square Holiday Market is based on the famed Camden Locks in London. Our holiday fair started back in 1993, and it runs every year from just before Thanksgiving right up until Christmas Eve. This year, I believe there are about 163 vendors, and as you can see on the map, the different colors indicate the different levels. It's a very interesting park that has sort of stages stepped up, all leading up to George Washington's statue. So once you're inside, it's almost like being in a maze, and that's why they have a map. It's not just straight up and down aisles. You can easily get lost in here and forget where you've been. Even though I go there every year, I still get tripped up a little bit.
He vendido bastante, hoy llevo como 10 días, pero ha sido como un momento de porque la chica esta a quien se le he vendido necesitaba una talla más grande, le he dicho voy a enseñarle a la otra, he dicho mira esta, y le he enseñado y he sacado la otra, y entonces he sacado como dos para probarle las tallas y las he guardado, y no sé si es que habré guardado también la tercera, no sé si la habrá llevado. Our original design here, we make these beautiful bowls out of recycled chopsticks. It's a fruit bowl or a bread basket, it folds flat, and you're not using it. They come in 3 different sizes and different colors. We always tell people to play with them if you never see it before.
Because of the park's history as a flashpoint of political protest, the statue of Mohandas Gandhi was placed in the westernmost corner. It's a statue from 1986 done by Hentilal Patel.
Flying high, you know how I feel. Sun in the sky, you know how I
feel. So there's something really magical about this fair in the evening when New York is at its very most twinkly and beautiful. So I'm standing right at the top of the exit from the Union Square subway station, and you can see on that sign all the different lines that come together here. This is the 4th busiest station in the New York subway system after Times Square, Grand Central, and Herald Square. This is it. Pre-pandemic, this station got about 20 million riders passing through it every year. Numbers are down by about 50% right now. Anyway, I am in the middle of the market. Some of these vendors have been here for years, since the beginning. I recognize this one. I myself vended at this market early on when my son was little and I had an educational toy business. And I have stories to tell of that. Because I live nearby, my UPS man, who was used to delivering merchandise to me, went out of his way, did a special favor for me, and he would bring my goods right into my booth on Friday night to carry me through the busy weekend. So that was kind of a very special thing. Joe, my favorite UPS man. So just want you to see the buildings lit up. I should get the Empire State Building again for you. One of my other war stories about being a vendor here was I was the unfortunate recipient of counterfeit $100 bills. I didn't know they were counterfeit. They looked really good. And when my mother ran to the bank to make a deposit for me, she came back and she said, somebody gave you counterfeit bills. And the bank confiscated them. Not too many weeks after that, Secret Service arrived at my apartment building to interview me and asked me if I remembered the people who I took these bills from. They gave me a $100 bill. They bought like a $15 book. And then I gave them change in authentic money. So they beat me for a lot. I was able to take it as a tax deduction, but still, that stung. If you want to know what the Secret Service guys taught me about how to detect whether a bill's counterfeit or not, this is before we had the holograms and the watermarks. But if you want to know the tips, you're going to have to comment below and I'll share with you. So each one of these vendors is a small business owner, and there's still a week before Christmas Eve that you can come out and support some of these people. And you know, if you don't make it this year, this market will be here next year as well.
Oh, I know these ones.
Here's the Empire State Building for you to see. There you go. So, you know, I forgot to mention, in all of these stands, there's not a single booth selling yarn. However, every Saturday at the Green Market, Catskill Merino is here with their yarn that's from sheep raised in New York State. So I'm back at the Union Square Holiday Market, which takes place every year, a little before Thanksgiving and through Christmas Eve. This is the most exciting booth I've seen in a long time because this stuff doesn't look like hardware. Well, guess what? It's chocolate. Yum.
Where do you make these?
Look at these gift boxes.
In Germany.
This is my neighborhood, folks. All my doctors are in the lower part of that tall building. There's all kinds of stuff here. A lot of jewelry, of course. It's like a little maze. You can really get lost in here. I think there's over 100 vendors. Okay, we are entering Sock Monkey Land. Look at this. Everything is Sock Monkey themed. I don't see any monkeys yet. Do you have sock monkey? Ah, there's the monkey action. Yeah. And look at all the stuff hanging up. Oh, monkeys. How cute is this? Thanks. if I've mentioned before that I'm going to have to miss Rhinebeck 2025 next October. I think I might have told you, poor me, I'm going to Paris. Yay. I applied for one of the 200 spots in the World Congress on Art Deco that will take place in Paris next October, and I was granted a position there. So I am greatly looking forward to that. Of course, I'm a little heartbroken that I'll be missing Rhinebeck, because I love to go there and meet you and talk to other people who I know in our wonderful, wonderful knitting community. What a great community. I don't know if any of you have come out of corporate backgrounds as I have, or have had your own business, which I have also had. It's kind of a dog-eat-dog cutthroat world out there. And in the knitting community, which I feel like I've been actively involved with for the last 4 or 5 years, I haven't found that to be true at all, with some exceptions. I can't say that I know everybody. I know that there have been some spats, minor spats, but I think by and large, considering that we're about 10 million people on Ravelry alone, and there's certainly other knitters out there, but the key players seem to be involved with Ravelry. 10 million, not so much fighting or cutthroat competition. The top designers are friendly with one another, even though they're competitors. It's just such a lovely hobby with lovely people, and I'm actually very proud to be a part of this community. It's unique, is what I'm trying to say, and I hope you agree with me, and I hope that's been your experience as well. I may see you again before the end of the year. I probably will, but just in case you're traveling and you don't have a chance to tune in, everybody, happy holidays. I'll see you soon.